Bhagyashree?
Yes, sir. Sir, can I begin?
You're on your own. You can go ahead.
Okay, sir.
Thank you.
Gandhi once said, "We are addicted to our thoughts. We cannot change anything if we cannot change our thinking." Honorable Chief Guest of the day, Dr. T.S. Anish, respected dignitaries, guests, delegates, and all the participants. A very good evening to one and all present here. I, Bhagyashree, feel privileged to welcome you all to the 67th talk of Inter-Society Weekly Webinar Series, jointly organized by IEEE Kerala Section, the Institution of Engineers India Kerala State Tender, Computer Society of India Trivandrum Chapter, PMI Kerala Chapter, Internet Society Trivandrum Chapter, Vakam Malavi Foundation Trust Trivandrum, Life Member Affinity Group IEEE Kerala Section, IEEE EMPS Kerala Chapter, and the Institute of Electronics and Communication Engineering. We have successfully paired these days of gloom with our heads hung over screens and minds lost in the ambiguity of our future. The COVID-19 crisis has affected societies and economies around the globe and is bound to permanently reshape our world as it continues to unfold. Vaccination has started, but we all know that we are far behind in the journey to attain a target. Another wave of COVID-19 is about to approach, and it's high time that we prepare for this. Hence, to share with us a knowledgeable words on the topic, another wave of COVID-19, ways to prevent it, we have our eminent speaker of the day, Dr. T.S. Anish, epidemiologist, researcher, and teacher from Medical College Hospital, Trivandrum. It's time we begin the event. I invite Algina from EMBS for the welcome speech. Ma'am, please.
Thank you, Bhagyashree.
Okay.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Before moving on to my assigned duty, let me wish a very prosperous, hopeful Eid Mubarak to you and to your family. May this Eid brings blessings to your home and heart. I feel it my pleasure and privilege to be representing EMBS family and to welcome each one of you to the 67th talk of Inter-Society Weekly Webinar Series talks. Let me appreciate the efforts of Rna sir, co-volunteers and professionals of Kerala Section who are supporting this event and making this a huge success for the past 66 talks, bringing out the best profiles and presentations to the virtual room. Moving on to my assigned duty, let me welcome our esteemed speaker, Dr. Anish, who will be talking about the ways to prevent another wave of COVID-19. Welcome you, sir. Next, I welcome Harindra sir, Chair of Inter-Society and the lead of Inter-Society talks to the evening. Welcome you, sir. It is my honor to welcome the EMBS Faculty Advisor of Sahridaya Student Branch Chapter, Dr. Yuvraj sir, to the gathering. I welcome you, sir. I also extend my warm welcome to the Zoom facilitator, Nikita Sanjeev, and MC of the day, Bhagyashree, to the 67th talk. I wholeheartedly welcome all the co-organizing societies, the professional community, and the most charming participants to this wonderful evening. Once again, my cordial welcome to all of you present here to the 67th talk of Inter-Society Weekly Webinar Series. Without further ado, now introducing to you Dr. T.S. Anish. Our esteemed speaker is a member of COVID Expert Committee Kerala and is holding the post of Associate Professor of Community Medicine at Government Medical College, Trivandrum. Being an alma mater of the same college, Dr. Anish is titled as epidemiologist, researcher, and professor, and proved his mettle in applied epidemiology, epidemiological analysis, statistics, primary healthcare statistical analysis, observational studies, and community medicine. With about 15 years of experience in this field, Dr. himself holds about 374 plus citations, 44 plus publications, and his projects includes pediatric neurology and about cerebral palsy in children and many more. This great personality is a recipient of IGD Ranbaxy Award for the best original article published in Indian Journal of Dermatology in 2013 and Sirdari Lal Award for the best paper published in Indian Journal of STD and AIDS in 2012. Dr. Anish is an exemplary all-rounder who has greatly been noticed for his public speaking and oratory skills, which he exhibits on social media, creating awareness about community health among common man. We are indeed fortunate to have this enormous, highly qualified guest speaker for today. Without much delay, I invite you, sir, to please take over the session. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for the nice introduction, and I am very glad to speak to you regarding the COVID-19 pandemic and its potential third wave. And at the outset, I would like to thank for inviting me for this session. So let me share my slides. Okay. Can you see my slides?
Oh, yes, sir. We can see the slides.
Okay. Now we are going to hear or to analyze some aspects of predicting a third wave of COVID-19, especially in Kerala, maybe in India. So to understand what is a third wave of COVID-19, we have to understand what is first wave, what is second wave, and something like that. So COVID as a pandemic, it will create so many waves that we know. That has already happened in the previous pandemics also. To compare with, we have got only one experience, that is the Spanish flu outbreak of 1918. But at that point of time, we did not have enough opportunity to analyze. We did not have enough technology to know what is the extent of that pandemic and all. What we have is only a piecemeal information about the epidemic or the outbreak of 1918, which is known as the Spanish flu. It is not actually in connection with Spain. Actually, what happened was Spain was not involved in the First World War that was happening at that point of time. Each and every countries in the world were busy with the war. So they were neglected the fever outbreak that was happening in their country. Spain was the only country. It was they actually in having very much interest in knowing what is happening to their people. So they reported the outbreak of fever first time, and now it is in their account, or some people think that it is something that has originated in Spain. Actually, it is not originated in Spain. It has affected many countries, these countries were involved in war. It is thought that 5% of the total population at that time, it was around 5 crore people were died because of Spanish flu. And most of the people, or the country which was contributed maximum number of deaths in Spanish flu is considered as India, and it is somewhere around 1.5 crores of population. So what happened in Spanish flu? Spanish flu has got many waves, and the second wave was much bigger than the first wave. And it was there was a large 3 waves, and after the third wave, the epidemic start vanishing off. So here also we think that we are not very confident that how many waves are going to occur, but definitely it is going to create a lot of waves. What is meant by a wave in COVID-19? Because COVID-19 is the most evolved virus that humanity has faced in recent times. That is why it is affecting human beings to a larger extent compared to any other viruses that we know. Why this is happening? Because this virus has got a very big survival advantage over many other viruses. It has got many survival advantage. One thing is the nature of spread. It is largely an airborne or a droplet-borne infection. Droplet-borne infection means it is coming through respiratory droplets. Respiratory droplets are infecting people. The respiratory droplets are large water particles that is coming out from your nose and mouth while you are speaking, sneezing, coughing, and all. As it is very large particles, it will fall off maybe within 1 meter from your mouth or something like that. That is known as respiratory particles. Once it was considered that COVID-19 will be transmitted only through respiratory these particles, that is droplet infection. That means if you happen to be in a close proximity to a person who is affected by COVID, then you are at risk. Otherwise, you are not at risk because it won't create some kind of airborne infection. So a mask that is going to be in your face is going to protect you. But now the situation has changed. The virus has got many other survival advantage. There is many genetic variations has happened already in COVID-19. You might have heard about Delta wave and Delta strain, that the virus is becoming more and more airborne. That means the large amount of virus that is present in the large respiratory droplet is not enough to infect others. Now, a small amount of virus that is present in small water vapor that is coming from your nose and mouth and staying in the atmosphere of a room, especially if it is a closed room with the air condition and all, or if it is in a closed vehicle, is enough to create the infection in the other. Sometimes a cloth mask or some surgical mask present over your face may not protect you also. So the virus has got its own advantages for spreading to people. That is one advantage of this particular virus. You may be thinking that why COVID-19 is spreading like anything, but we do not have that kind of a spread in case of dengue, or we do not have that kind of a spread in case of Nipah or Ebola or whatever it may be. It is because of the airborne nature. That is one thing. Second one is, whenever the virus is coming and it is entering through your nose or mouth, there should be somebody in your body to receive the virus. Otherwise, it is not going to infect you. These particular proteins that is present in your cells to receive this particular virus is known as receptors. These receptors for COVID-19 is angiotensin converting enzyme 2 that is present, that is known as ACE2, that is present all over human body, especially it is abundant from your nose to your lungs. So you are very vulnerable to get infection. That is a second most important factor that is contributing to the to COVID-19 or SARS coronavirus 2, an emergent virus which can create large pandemic. A third one, usually some viruses will kill people in a faster rate. For example, Ebola or Nipah, we have got a very strong experience with Nipah. Nipah killed almost 90% of affected individuals in Calicut. That is the nature of Nipah. That means if you are affected by Nipah, you will be severely ill, maybe in one or 2 days, and you may be sustained to a hospital, and you may succumb to death by 3rd day or 4th day. So you don't get enough time to infect others. But COVID-19, most of the occasion, more than 80% of times, it will not create much symptoms and signs. You will go out and you will give the infection to others, so that the infection will spread from asymptomatic people to many other people. So the disease will transmit in a very faster rate. So that is another advantage that COVID-19 has got. So many advantages COVID-19 has got, that is the reason that this particular virus is one of the most evolved virus that can affect humanity to a larger extent. So when COVID-19, the first outbreak has happened in China or elsewhere, this disease has got some dominant characters and it started to spreading among human beings, and it was creating the first wave of COVID-19. But when this particular wave was happening and people were knowing that, okay, this particular virus is spreading, we have to resist this virus. We do not have enough mechanism to resist this virus. The usual hygienic behaviors that we do may not help us to resist this particular virus. So we adopted some behavioral changes, that we were starting using masks, we were using sanitizers, we were using many other gadgets, and people were aware that this particular virus is transmitting and we have to get it tested. Suppose if you are tested positive, you should not go out, you have to go to your room and you have to get quarantined. Even at the same point of time, people were thinking about creating vaccines because the virological sequence was available and the sequence was sent to many laboratories, and the laboratory people were starting in research of vaccines and all. So because of human involvement and human, the governments and the communities were trying to resist the virus. So there was a tug of war between the virus and human beings. And as the virus was not at that of as such an evolved virus, so the first wave came to an end. So that is the history of a first wave that was happening somewhere in the early part of 2020 in many places, maybe by the middle or the later part of 2020 in India and Kerala. Okay, then what has happened? The virus was suppressed by human behavior, and we noticed that virus is coming down. The rate of the viral infection is coming down. So our behaviors changed. We actually thrown our masks away. We actually the cultural celebrations, elections, and so many other festivals and so many other contexts were occurring for people mingling together. The social distancing was away, and again the virus was started spreading. At this particular point of time, it was not the ancient virus which is spreading. Virus has evolved by itself because of natural selection and all. Okay, the virus will change because this particular virus is an RNA virus. A RNA virus is different from a DNA virus. A DNA virus will be more stable, but RNA virus is going to change by itself. Most of the changes will not create any issues in the behavior of the virus, but some of the changes will create some kind of an issue in the behavior of the virus. It will depend on where the change is happening. Most of the viral structure is not very important for its infection, but some of the virological genome is very important to infect others. If a change is happening in a particular location of this virological genome, this virus will get some kind of a survival advantage. Okay, one type of survival advantage is some viruses are, some of these viruses will acquire a habit to infect more. Okay, suppose the mother virus used to infect only 2 people from a single person who is infected.
Doctor, shall I interfere?
Yeah.
The sheet is not moving. The PPT sheet is not moving. Is it okay?
Okay. I am not moving the sheet. I am just giving an introduction. Then I will just move it. Okay. Okay. Is it fine?
That's okay. It's up to you.
Okay. So the virus has got a change in its behavior. One is there is a concept in epidemiology which is known as R0 or reproduction number. What is reproduction number means? Suppose a person is infected, he is capable of infecting others. How many people will be infected from the one person who is infected? Suppose that is 2. If I am infected and I am able to infect at an average 2 people, then the reproduction number of the virus is 2. The infectivity, if the infectivity of the virus has increased, that means the virus has got some advantage to infect others, then the reproduction number will become increased. So a person who is infected by the new strain of the virus are capable of infect other 4, other 6, sometimes 8 other people and make them disease. So that is a real issue in the change in genetic nature of the virus. Now you may be knowing that the new virological strain is known as Delta. Delta is capable of infecting at an average of 8 individuals, but the first COVID strain that was originated in China was able to infect only 2. So the infectivity of the virus has changed. So the virus, it is not the old virus. When we are moving for the second wave, the virus has changed. We are actually dealing with a new virus. Second change the virus has achieved is known as immune escape mutation. Immune escape mutation means, suppose you have got some kind of an immunity against the virus. How we can get the immunity against virus? One is because of vaccination. Second one is because of an already infection. Suppose you have got an infection already, then you may not get an infection in the recent days because of the previous infection is going to protect you. But this feature can be some of the virus which has got the immune escape mutation will not obey your immunity. It can actually go beyond your immunity and it can create some kind of infections. So these 2 features, one is it is moving very fast, making more people infected. Second one is it is able to infect even the immunized or people who has got the disease. So these features created another wave of COVID-19, which is known as the second wave of COVID-19. In Europe, it is the third wave of COVID-19 because in Europe, because of the social resistance and because of other activities, they experienced actually 3 waves. But in India, we have experienced only 2 waves. What the Europe is experiencing now as a third wave is actually what India experienced as a second wave. So this is the wave nature. Okay. Then as the wave is there, we will go for lockdown. We will create a lot of resistance against the virus. Again, it will be a tug of war between virus and humanity. Now the humanity may win partially or for the time being, and the virus will come down. Now we are actually experiencing the downward trend of the second wave, and we are expecting a third wave at any point of time. So that is very important. Then we have to think when the second or third wave is going to happen and what will be the extent of the third wave. This is basically what we are going to discuss now. Okay, this is the pattern of the COVID-19 across the world. So you are seeing clearly two waves, and first wave, it is created mostly by the orange and the green part. Okay, the orange is Americas and green is Europe. That means the first part of COVID-19 or the first wave of COVID-19 was largely contributed by Americas and Europe. While we are moving to the second wave, you can clearly see that it is mainly contributed by the violet part. Violet is Southeast Asia. Southeast Asia means it is India. So in this picture, you can clearly see that the world, we have got two waves, and now the world is moving for a third wave. It has already happened in America and Europe, but the second wave was created, is dominated by Indian situation. So the second wave was created a lot of deaths in India. So when we are moving from first wave to the third wave, that is now happening in Europe, sometimes it is going to happen in India tomorrow. If you look at the case fatality rate, that means the number of people dying has reduced. Now it is actually very interesting to see that even if Europe is experiencing a third wave is because of Delta strain, which is the most evolved strain of COVID-19, which is capable of infecting people very fast, and if it is capable of infecting people who are already vaccinated, and it is capable of infecting people who has got once the disease. But even then, the death is very much less. So this is our hope that if you move with vaccination, in Kerala, we have got more than 40% of our population received at least one dose of vaccine. Around 10% or more than 10% of our population received 2 doses of vaccine. Even 1 dose of vaccine is going to help us. So this extent of vaccination is going to help us in the third wave. Even if the number of infections are more in third wave, the chance of hospitalization, the chance of death, the chance of severe complications like black fungus and all will be much reduced in case of third wave. That is something we can actually relax, that the third wave in terms of hospitalization and death will be much less than that of second wave. Okay, this is the Indian situation of COVID-19 and its death. This is the Kerala situation. And if you compare India and Kerala, it is actually very interesting to compare. Kerala identified 3 million cases of COVID, more than 3 million cases of COVID. The 3 million, the number means around 9% of Kerala's population. Okay, Kerala identified around 9% of Kerala's population is already affected with COVID. But India, it is somewhere around 30 million. 30 million COVID cases were found out in India till now. That is hardly 2.5% of India's population. So Kerala identified 9% of total population. India identified only 2.5% of total population. Okay, if you look at this data, you may see that Kerala is heavily affected by COVID-19 because you're almost more than 3 times that of India if you consider the population proportion. But 2 things are very important. One is, even if this much number of COVID-19 was happening in Kerala, never the hospitals were filled and oxygen capacity were exhausted, and never our ventilators were filled. But in many Indian states, even if with a smaller reported number of COVID, all this has already happened. So that is one advantage the Kerala is made. Even if Kerala reported large number of COVID cases, because Kerala is reporting COVID-19 sustainably in every time point. It is not reporting along with a wave alone. Even without a wave, you can see that. You can look at the first wave of Kerala. It is more flattened, okay, compared to the first wave of Kerala in India, which has got very high peak and very high fall. So the peaking and falling of a curve is very important. If you sharply go up and if you sharply come down, that is considered as the resistance against COVID-19 is much less. But if you go very mildly, we are not going in a sharp increase, we are going for a shallow increase and decrease, definitely it is considered that the resistance over the COVID-19 is very high. Another data that we have now is the seroprevalence data of ICMR, which is came out last day, okay, and India reporting around 65% of seropositivity. That means the infection rate in India is somewhere around 65% if you are not considering the seropositivity because of vaccination. But in some of the Indian states, it is as high as 85%. That means in some areas of India, out of 100 individuals, 85 individuals are already affected by COVID-19. Kerala is actually the last in the list. The district selected from Kerala is reporting only 40%. That means actually the infection rates in infection that has happened in Kerala is much less than that of India. If more than half of Indian population is already infected, actually, in Kerala, it is only 1/4. So that is the real data that we have, but maybe because of our ability to pick up cases is giving us some kind of an advantage that we are reporting more number of cases. In a sense, reporting more number of cases is good because definitely your death rate will come down. Okay, if you report only severe cases, the death rate will be much more. But if you are able to report or your system is able to report even mild cases, the death rate will be much low. So I have communicated about the genetic variations. The WHO is categorizing the genetic variation into two groups. So many genetic variations can happen in COVID-19, but it is not very important because it is not creating any behavior change in the virus. If there is a potential of behavioral change, that means this particular variation has happened in a particular area of the SARS coronavirus genome, which can create some kind of a problem. Sometimes it is going to spread rapidly. Sometimes it is going to hinder the ability to test the virus out. Sometimes it may be this particular variation may be creating an immune escape phenomenon. That means it can affect even vaccinated individuals. Okay, suppose these kinds of issues are suspected, then WHO will put this particular strain to a group which is known as variant of interest. And they will study more about that. All over the world, you can report what is happening to a particular viral strain, which is categorized in variant of interest. And if you see that this particular variant of interest is behaving oddly, and it is making more people susceptible for the infection, and if it has got some kind of a change in virulence, that means the symptoms and signs of the disease has changed or something like that. These kinds of variants are known as variants of concerns. That means WHO categorized the important variant of COVID-19 as variant of interest and variant of concern. In this table, what you are seeing in the first 4 is variant of concern, and the next 6 is the variant of interest. So 4 variants are very important: alpha, beta, gamma, and delta. Alpha is otherwise known as UK strain. Beta is otherwise known as South African strain. Gamma is otherwise known as Brazilian strain. And delta, if you want to put a name, it is an Indian strain of double mutant or something like that. Among these 4, delta is the most evolved genetic variation. And now over the world, the Europe, America, and all other countries are facing issues because of delta. Delta was the major strain played in case of second wave of COVID-19 in India, and more people were killed, and the disease was spreading like anything because it is Delta strain. But an interesting feature is that now Delta is transferred to Europe and America and other nations, and the killing power of Delta is much less in Europe and Americas because of the rampant and widespread vaccination. So if you are able to vaccinate your community to maybe around 70 to 80%, definitely COVID-19 will not create much problem in terms of death and hospitalization. But it is very difficult to vaccinate your people. 80% of population or 70% of population vaccinated for 2 doses is something that we cannot think of. But we are on the way. We have vaccinated at least 1 dose for 40 to 50% of people. So it may help us. Definitely, it may help us in reduction of hospitalization and death. So Kerala is a state where we continuously monitoring the genetic variation. This you can see the date, that is on 27th April 2021. And you will see that the blue, there is a dominance of a blue color in this graph. So blue color is the alpha, that is B117, that is a UK strain. That means on the last week of April in Kerala, the strain which is dominated was UK, that is alpha. But within 2 weeks, you can see the orange color. Orange color is the Delta. Within 2 weeks in Kerala, it was dominated by Delta strain, that is B1617.2. So that is the extent by which the Delta strain is spreading. And now more than 95% of COVID-19 detected in Kerala is because of Delta strain. So that is the reason for the large second wave in Kerala as well as in India. So to study or to deal with the third wave, we have to increase, or we have to study, or we have to understand so many things. One is there is something called a herd immunity. Herd immunity means, suppose you are infected now, you are less likely to be infected after maybe another 2 months or 3 months. Suppose people are there in a community who are already infected, or people who are already vaccinated, then there will be less chance of a disease to spread in this particular location. So the vaccination is going to give you some kind of a herd immunity. That is why, even if some people argue that the third wave is going to affect children, many of the epidemiologists think that won't happen, because if your child has to be infected, first you have to get the infection, because the child is not going to schools. The child has got only contact with the elderly people or the adults. Suppose the adults are protected, definitely the child will also get a protection, because if the infection is not going to infect adult, if corona cannot infect the adult because of the immunization as well as because of some mask or something like that, it cannot go and infect the child, because there should be a person who is there to infect the child. So this won't happen. The herd immunity is going to help us, but some of the strains of the virus can create breakthrough infections. What is meant by a breakthrough infection? It can infect even people who are actually having the immunity. So if that kind of a virus is going to emerge, it can go and infect your child. Otherwise, there is less chance that your child is going to be affected in the third wave. Definitely, your child will be protected from the third wave to an extent because of the extent of vaccination that you have. The vaccination is very important. Masking is actually very important if you want to include a single strategy to protect you against COVID-19, which is masking. But I have already explained that the virus has changed. Now, a cloth mask sometimes may not help you, because the cloth mask will prevent the infection because of droplet, but the cloth mask will not prevent an infection through air. So the virus, the Delta, has got an airborne transmission. So a cloth mask is not enough. Either you have to go for a N95 mask, or you have to go for double masking, especially when you are more vulnerable to get infection. When you are more vulnerable to get infection, one is when you are inside a particular room. Suppose you are going through the street, okay, then even if you do not have a very quality mask, you may not get infected, because even if some people are there in the street,
Audio is lost.
Anish, sir?
Not able to hear audio.
Yes, sir. Please wait. Our chief guest might have lost connection. Please wait for a few minutes till he joins back. Anish, sir, can you hear me? I request all the participants to wait for a few minutes. Is Harindra also here?
There are some network problems. I talked to Dr. Anish. He's unaware that he's not audible, but he will check up now and come back. Please wait.
Okay, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for the patience.
ഞാൻ പറയുന്ന കേൾക്കാം അപ്പോ?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now it is audible. Now it is audible. Thank you.
ഓക്കെ, അത് എത്ര നേരമായി ഞാൻ ഇതിൽ നിന്ന് ഔട്ടായിട്ട്? ഞാൻ അറിഞ്ഞില്ല.
ഒരു 5 മിനിറ്റ് കാണാം. Maybe more than that.
ഈ സ്ലൈഡ് ആണോ കണ്ടോണ്ടിരുന്നത്?
Yes, sir. കുട്ടികൾക്ക് വാക്സിനേഷൻ കിട്ടുന്നില്ല, പോയിന്റ് പറയാം.
Okay, fine. Thank you. We were discussing about the protecting our children. Actually, one good way of protecting your child is you get your vaccine well and you protect yourself, because even if your child is vulnerable for infection, the infection cannot reach the child. So that is a very important aspect that in your behavior that we have to inculcate at the time of a third wave. Another thing is, usually COVID is considered as it's a non-neutral disease. Okay, non-neutral disease. That means COVID is not behaving equally to everybody. COVID is behaving to a child very mildly usually. Okay, the child may not be getting severe signs and symptoms because of COVID. There is less chance to get a complication because of COVID. The child can get a complication very rarely, especially on the second or third week of COVID. After the complication for a child is actually after the COVID outbreak. Suppose the child has got COVID, no issues. After 1 week or 2 weeks, the child is cured of COVID. But after a few days, the immune system can get reactivated. And sometimes the child may go for some kind of a severe immune reaction because of COVID. That is a rare phenomenon. But if you look at elderly, if the elderly person is affected by COVID, the chance of death and hospitalization and all other complications will be very high. So that is one aspect of that. So here I am. Hello, Kelkalo alle.
You are
Yes,
audible.
sir.
You are audible.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. Then very important aspect is the evolutionary pressure on the virus. Virus is going to change. We cannot prevent that. Virus is going to change. So the third wave may be because of some other virus that we do not know now. Some people thinking that there is a virus in the radar, which is known as Delta plus. Delta plus means one more mutation that has happened in Delta in the receptor binding domain of that particular virus. Receptor binding domain means it is actually the area used by the virus to infect human cell. So there is a mutation happened in Delta, which is known as Delta plus. Some people believe that there is a third wave that can happen because of Delta plus. Some people think that, okay, there will not be any third wave because of Delta plus. But currently, Delta plus is not showing any emergent potential, other than it has got a cluster in the Ratnagiri district of Maharashtra. Even in Kerala, we have detected Delta plus, but it is not showing any clustering. Clustering means it is infecting others more rapidly. So many viral strains are in the radar. Definitely, if you want to go for a third wave, rather, if you want to go for a wave, two things should simultaneously occur. One is people should interact. Third wave may occur because of people's interaction. And there can be a new wave or new virus which can have this behaviors like immune escape, high infectivity, or something like that. Definitely, these features are going to help you, as that we witness in Europe, that the mass vaccination is going to protect you from hospitalization and death, even if there is a third wave. So the herd immunity because of people getting infected. So in that sense, the number of infections.
Sir, again we are missing audio. Sorry.
Yes, sir. I think we have lost his connection again. I think we should wait for a few more minutes. He will join back. Haridlat, sir, can you please contact him? Maybe he might not be aware that he has got disconnected.
Doctor, you are not audible. You are not audible.
Am I audible?
Yeah. Okay, doctor. Thank you.
Sorry for the technical issues.
Yeah.
Okay. So in thinking about the third wave, these things are very important. Suppose one thing is the infectivity of the virus should increase. Then only there will be a third wave. Second one is sometimes there will be immune escape. Immune escape means even if you are vaccinated or even if you have infected once, again you can go for another infection. That is immune escape. But definitely you won't go for severe kind of a disease. Hospitalization and death will be unlikely. That is the advantage of a vaccination, or it may be advantage of getting once the COVID. Suppose you are a survivor of COVID, definitely the chance of death in the second COVID will be much less. And third one, there can be a waning of immunity. That means if you have got a COVID-19 that was happening maybe in the early part of 2020, again, you may get an infection now because of the waning of immunity. That can even happen in case of vaccination. So that is the challenge because of vaccine. If you are not able to prevent this infection, or if you are not able to reduce the burden of COVID-19 maybe in 2 or 3 years, definitely you have to vaccinate again once, because the vaccine immunity, we do not know how much it is going to last. In influenza and all, you may be knowing that you have to take vaccine every year. Similarly, sometimes you may go for a second shot of COVID-19. The herd immunity will be more now in Kerala because there is a large second wave that we have faced, and our community may be having a herd immunity because of large number of infections already happened. The case fatality in the third wave will be much less. Okay, it will not kill much people compared to the infection. If more number of people has to die in third wave, the infection rate or the number of the real cases should be so high compared to the second wave. Even if you have got a third wave, which has got a size that of second wave, the killing power of third wave may be much less, because so many people are already got the vaccination and so many people are already got the infection. So it is very important to protect our near and dear by giving vaccination. That is going to protect them, their life, especially in third wave, even if they have to have the infection of third wave. The alternation of risk is a concern that we are thinking about that. It may be, we are not sure that whether it is going to be more vulnerable for children. And definitely the airborne nature is going to increase. And the alteration of risk perception and the pandemic fatigue is very important, because now after 1.5 years of fighting against COVID-19, people may think that, okay, well, there is no point in the fighting against COVID-19 and it is going to affect us anyway. We have to leave or something like that. But you have to keep our mind strong and we have to fight for the third wave. So I'm actually skipping this one. So we have actually modeled. I am a epidemiological expert for State Disaster Management Authority for Government of Kerala, and we have modeled. SCIR is a type of model that is susceptible, exposed, infectious, and recovery model that we use in case of COVID-19. We have got a model which model is predicting a third wave in September after Onam. Because as I have already said, for a wave to occur, two things has to happen. One is there should be a new virus, okay, that can emerge from the existing virus. Second one is there should be huge interaction, population interaction. Now we are having a huge population interaction because of the Bakrid and all. We do not know whether it is going to create a wave in northern part of Kerala. But at point of time when we were thinking about modeling the wave, we were thinking that large population mixing is going to happen just before Onam. So that data was used to model a third wave. And you can see what you are seeing, the horizontal black line is the number that we faced in case of second wave. In second wave, at the peak of second wave, the number of individuals in Kerala reported to have COVID-19 in a single day was somewhere around 42,000. So that is a maximum that we can think of. Okay, if you are going to have a third wave, which has got high impact, just like a second wave, you cannot afford a number beyond 42,000, because 42,000 is the number where our systems were faced a big challenge. It was just like a threshold that we can think of. So any wave which is going to report around more than 50,000, more than 50,000 cases per day in Kerala is not affordable for Kerala. But again, as I have already said, the chance of death and hospitalization may be less because of vaccination and all. But even then, more than 50,000. So one thing is whether you cannot avoid a third wave. Most probably you cannot avoid a third wave because we do not have that much vaccination coverage that was already happened in Europe. Even with 70% vaccination coverage, Europe is not able to avoid a third wave, okay, because of Delta. So we may have to face a third wave. So it cannot be avoided. Definitely a third wave may happen. Then the next question is whether it is going to affect you more than that of a second wave. If it is going to affect you more than that of second wave, then our system, the chance of collapsing the system will be much high. So most often it won't happen. It will happen only in two situations. One is your herd immunity, or the people who can resist infection, is much less. That won't happen because 40% of Kerala population has already got at least one dose of vaccine. That is one thing. Second one is Kerala is a society which so much resilience. So this condition won't happen. So then there is only one possibility, that a virus is going to emerge, and this particular virus has got high Rna, and it is going to infect around 10 people. For example, from the infection is moving from 1 to 10, 10 to 100, 100 to 1,000, or something like that. To that kind of a speed, if the virus is going to emerge with that kind of a speed, then also the third wave may be much higher than that of second wave. But I have discussed with this thing with so many virologists who are interested in coronavirus, and they have done a lot of studies in coronavirus, and they told me that there is less chance for that. So the take-home message is we are going to have a third wave, most probably by the September 2021, but we are not sure. It can happen after that also, because the first wave was peaking after October. So if you look at the seasonality, sometimes it can go for October or post Christmas or something like that. Definitely it is somewhere between September to December, okay? And how big it will be, most often it will be milder than the second wave. Okay, if we are going in this pace of vaccination, and if you are going to have this kind of a population responsibility to resist a COVID, definitely the third wave won't be much higher than the second wave. And the successive waves, maybe fourth or fifth or something like that, may be weaker than third wave, that we assume. And sometimes maybe in near future, that we do not know when it is going to happen, but the COVID-19 will vanish just like a seasonal flu or something like that, as the British government is telling now. We can consider COVID-19 as a seasonal flu, maybe after third or fourth wave. So this is the take-home message, and these are the action points that we have to think. Containment versus mitigation. Containment means if one area is heavily affected by COVID, you have to shut that area out. There is no way out. And mitigation means we are wearing masks and we are doing a lot of things. We are trying to increase vaccination and all. And general community approach versus high risk approach. That means general community has to behave just like you have to wear mask and avoid social distancing and all. High risk approach means some people are high risk. For example, elderly people suffering from multiple comorbidities or diseases. In third wave context, our children, they have to take on our pregnant women, and these people has to take additional precaution. Then long-term community engagement and capacity building is very important. because we are not going for a sprint of 100 meters, rather we are going for a marathon. So our sustained behavior is a very important thing. Upliftment of infrastructure based on epidemiology, that means you are building your hospitals. So in that case also, Kerala is doing a wonderful job. For example, in Trivandrum, when at the end of first wave, we were having only 150 oxygen bed. During the second wave, we built it to 450. Now we have got around 500 oxygen bed in a single hospital. So along with the wave, the Kerala has got its unique capacity to build infrastructures. So that is a very, very good thing. So I have already said that one of the crucial factor of a third wave will be a new virological mutation. So we have to go for continuous virological analysis that we are doing now. We have got 3 dedicated labs. One is at Rajiv Gandhi Center for Biotechnology, and second one is at Calicut Medical College, and third lab, as a part of the All India surveillance for COVID-19, Kerala and Maharashtra are the 2 states sending maximum amount of samples for the All India pool. Then intervention in social, economical, and geographical factors and groups are very important. For example, economical. COVID is not at all a health problem alone. It is a social issue. It is an economical problem. We have to keep our local economy live. We have to keep our people who is working in the field and earning on a daily wages, and those are very important, and we have to keep them live. That is a very important thing. Geographical factors are very important because COVID is behaving different in different geography. COVID, when it is reaching to coastal area, it is spreading like wildfire. And when it is reaching to tribal area, it is very difficult to control. And when it is reaching to colonies, so many people are affected by the disease. But when it is reaching to among people who are educated, this is spreading very, very, very slowly or something like that. And evidence-based vaccination strategies that we have to adopt, not only vaccination. So we have to look for studies, and we have to look for the experience of others to prevent the third wave of COVID-19. So I am stopping my presentation now that we can take some questions. I am very sorry that I had to stop in between because of technological issues. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. That was truly a wonderful session. It was really informative. We got to learn a lot from your presentation, sir. So as you have already mentioned, we do have some questions in the chat section. Okay, let's move on to the question and answering session, sir. Is it okay for you? Can we?
Yeah, fine. Thank you.
Okay, sir. So the first question is from Ravindranath, sir. The death rate in Kerala had shown an increase in the time since early 2020 and July 2021. Between that era, why did it happen?
That is a very good question. Death, not only epidemiological, death is a political issue also that you may be knowing already. There is allegation that Kerala is not reporting death properly or something like that. 2 issues happen. One thing is, compared to COVID-19 cases, death will lag. Suppose I am getting an infection today, so I will be going to the infection pool today itself. I may be counted today itself, but I am going to die. Suppose I am dying because of COVID, I am going to die maybe after 1 month. If I am in a state like Kerala, the chance of death will be on a future date. Okay. If you happen to be in an area where the infrastructures are much less, that may happen early. But if your system is good, even if there is death, it will happen late. So if you look at the COVID-19 curve and you look at the death curve, definitely the death curve will peak after COVID-19 curve, because it will take time for die. That is one reason that you are seeing the death is peaking even after the cases are coming down. Okay, cases are coming down, but death is increasing. That is one feature that we see in death, COVID death. That is one reason. Second reason is actually a technical reason that Kerala, you may be knowing that Kerala was very particular in reporting death in positive sense as well as in negative sense. We had a committee to scrutinize all deaths before reporting that. As the committee was not able to scrutinize all deaths in every day, so there was a backlog for death. We had around 5,000 deaths in backlog. these deaths are also reporting now. That is why Kerala is facing a larger number of deaths compared to number of cases now. But definitely it is going to come down, maybe in 2 weeks or 3 weeks.
Okay, sir. Moving on to the next question. In India, our preparation to produce or procure vaccine in large number was a key reason for the present situation. 135 crores of population are to be covered by vaccination to be safe. How long will it take for a country to reach this level? Did our planning fail, or how is the situation right now?
It has got multiple aspects in it. One is partially it is a system failure, because we know that we had this much number of people and we had to purchase this much amount of vaccine. It may be challenging for a country like India, because largely we are a poor country when you are considering the entire population. If even our Uttar Pradesh alone, if you consider that, it is the largest third populous country in the world or something like that. So that is one aspect of that. Second one is India has purchased only small amount of viruses, vaccine, especially that the Russian vaccine, that is Sputnik, that was purchased by September 2020. India started its vaccination campaign only in January 2021, after many of the countries started its vaccination strategy. But India was able to give this much vaccination only because the two giant vaccine producers are located in India. One is Serum Institute of India and the second one is Bharat Biotech. These two giants are located in India. That is the only reason that we could achieve at least this. Okay. So India is, maybe if you compare to other countries, small countries, we are giving large number of vaccines, but compared to our population need, it is not adequate. That may be a reason that we suffered a large outbreak of COVID-19 as a second wave. If you could give vaccines in more proportions, definitely the death and complications because of the second wave would have reduced or mitigated.
Okay, sir.
And you asked about the timeline also. If you are forwarding or moving like this, it will take around 2 years for our entire population to get vaccination.
Okay,
for
sir.
India, but at Kerala it may be around maybe one year or something.
Okay, sir. So another question is, if there is a downward trend for the second wave, why is that we are expecting a third wave? And it is also heard that there is another strain which is highly fatal, Lambda, apart from Gamma, or is it the strain Gamma itself?
This Gamma has got immune escape phenomenon. Immune escape phenomenon means it has got a property to infect people who are already vaccinated or people who are already infected. So beta and gamma has got this property. And lambda, again, as you have rightly pointed out, it is a concern, but WHO is not recognizing it as a variant of concern because we do not have large outbreaks of lambda. But even now it is a variant of interest. That means we have got some issues with lambda. We notice that lambda is there, and we do not have enough evidence to suggest that lambda is creating a lot of problems. Now we have got only 4 variants of concerns: alpha, beta, gamma, and delta. Definitely lambda is important. Lambda is a candidate for this particular list in future that we do not know. The epidemiologists and virologists are looking at the features of lambda. Then regarding your question about a third wave, now the second wave is coming down. For Kerala, the second wave is not ended. So it is just like even now we are experiencing somewhere around 15,000 cases per day. And we are likely to sustain in this level maybe for a few weeks also. So we are actually challenged because of a potential or a possibility of a third wave that can be piggyback on the second wave itself. Here the real problem is why this is happening, because of our constant mechanism or our constant struggle against COVID-19, that and our system's behavior is actually good. That is why you are getting more number of cases at the tail of the wave. If you are getting more number of cases at the head of the wave, means you are not doing anything, and so many people are getting infected at any point of time as the wave is coming and people are getting infected. But if you are getting many infection on the tail of the curve, means you were trying to resist infection. That is why the infections were delayed and now you are getting the infection. So there is no problem in getting infection during the tail of the curve, but the issue is administrative issue or the managerial issue. So many people are there. Our hospitals are partially filled. Our ICUs and ventilators are partially filled. And if you are going to have a third wave that is going to be piggybacked on the second wave, definitely we do not have this much resources left because it is already utilized partially. So that is a real concern, that we have to prevent a third wave at any cost at this point of time.
Okay, sir. Moving on to the next question. Certain countries like USA, UK, etc., the people have stopped wearing masks and are becoming normal. Is it a safe sign? Even after 2 doses of vaccination and not wearing a protective equipment, would it be good, or can it result in any other problem?
Here, actually, it is a risky behavior to not wearing mask and all, because sometimes even if there is some virus or transmission is happening in a country where rampant vaccination has happened, there won't be much severe infections or death. But the problem from just withdrawing from the COVID appropriate behavior, if you are going to withdraw from the COVID appropriate behavior, there is a chance of new variants to emerge. Whenever people are more prone for infection, infections are happening, there is more chance of the virus is getting mutated. If that particular mutated virus is going to circulate in US because of your COVID inappropriate behavior in US, this may not cause any big issue in US because of the rampant vaccination and all. But suppose this particular mutant is going to escape and it is going to Africa or something like that, the population in Africa, they are not having at least maybe 10% of their population were vaccinated, and it is going to kill people in Africa. So we have to consider the entire universe or the entire world as a single community. So definitely we have to wear masks irrespective of our vaccination status. Still this particular problem has somehow mitigated.
Okay, sir. So the next question is, please comment on the Freedom Day on 19th in UK and removal of all restrictions, even when the third wave was there.
Actually, I have already said in the previous, the answer for the previous question is actually the answer for this also.
Yes, sir.
It is good that we also enjoy for a Freedom Day, and we know that it is going to be a seasonal flu-like thing if the sustainable or amount of people or a significant amount of our population is vaccinated and protected. But definitely, we have to consider the other part of the world also. You do not better allow your country to become a factory which can create new genetic variation of the virus, which can kill people outside your country. Better that may be a good strategy. So that is why I think epidemiologists and all other people in the other countries are not in favor of what UK is doing.
Okay, sir. Is there a scientific basis for the lockdown regime being implemented in Kerala? Can it be considered effective?
So many issues are there. It is not a scientifically or epidemiologically charted lockdown that Kerala is having. It is most often it is some bureaucratic decisions are there. So sometimes, if suppose the disease transmission is very high in a locality, then lockdown is essential sometimes. But the way by which we are doing now, I don't think it has got a strong scientific background.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Sir, the next question is from me itself. Sir, I'm a student, so I would like to ask you how, as you all know, that education sector has been greatly affected by this COVID-19 crisis. So how should the education sector act at the moment till the situation is totally solved? Should it completely shift to online mode itself and make sure that the students should not have offline classes or exams? What do you think the education sector should do at the moment?
Actually, it is an interesting question. If you look at the documents given by WHO clearly say that the schools and other educational systems should not be closed unless there is a big outbreak or the outbreak situation for COVID-19. Okay, that means they clearly say that it should not be closed. That means at this point of time, you can work in schools, you can work in colleges in real time. Then why this is not happening? Because we do not have I think students and teachers, or maybe just because there is no the amount of hue and cry in the community is not enough to keep your schools and colleges open. That is a real issue. Second one is this online mode is something actually good, because I think it is just like a crash course for the entire education system, that even what we done in classrooms can happen in online mode, and this online platform is going to evolve and develop in near future. But I think as we are opening up shops, we are opening up the travels, and we are opening up so many things, and if you had a sufficient amount of people get vaccinated, you have to think about opening your schools and colleges also. But at that point of time, we have to think. One thing is, if the person is aged more than 18 years, he can go to schools or colleges after getting vaccinated. So maybe it is applicable for college students. Suppose I am a person aged more than 18 years, the government has to give me some priority for age group between 18 to 25 or something like that. And we have to get maximum number of people vaccinated in that age group, and we have to go to our university and we have to study. But the government is not they are not considering this as a priority to send the children to schools and send children to colleges are not considered as priorities. Second one is, for a very small child, maybe less than 10-year-old till 5th standard, there is not significant risk because of COVID-19, if at all they have infected. Icmr has come out with a suggestions that up to 5th standard, the schools or classrooms should open. Okay, that is another suggestion. So the real risk is because in between maybe 10 to 18 years, the middle people. Yeah, more than 18, you can protect using vaccination. Less than 5, there is no issue because of COVID. But definitely we have to protect our children maybe between this group. So we have to think about vaccination of this segment also. Some studies are happening in India, but most of the studies are happening elsewhere in Europe and Americas. And I think we have to think in that line. We have to get more vaccine that could be used in children, so that our children can be sent to schools and colleges. And as a whole, as a community, as administrators, we have to give more priority to that also. That is a very important thing. We are not giving a priority for our schools and colleges. That is the real reason I think we are closed down our schools and colleges.
Okay, sir, thank you. So the next question, so many models and so many variables are there. How to identify the one that is close to reality?
It is actually a very difficult question, because COVID-19, we do not have a previous experience with COVID-19. It is just like you are a painter who is used to paint in a small canvas, is given an opportunity to paint in a big canvas, which is very, very large, that you cannot think of. So that is the situation where COVID-19 is giving to an epidemiologist or mathematical modelers. So then in COVID-19, this particular science has also evolved like anything. And now even it is not the model itself, how it is not important how complicated is your model. It is most important is how much you can incorporate the epidemiological real life phenomenon into the model. So we are using the segmental or compartmental model like SCIR. There is so many complicated models are there, and mathematicians are basically dealing with that. But all you might have heard about a saying about models. All models are wrong, but some are useful. So we are actually trying to tell something about this, the likely situation that can happen in near future. If you are able to predict it precisely, there is actually good, but that won't happen. All models are going to be failed. But if you are incorporating the real epidemiological feature, some simple models like that we do are useful, that it can help us to take some decisions.
Okay, sir. So the next question is, in a family, some get infected and some escape from this infection. What is the role of immunity here in helping one protect against infection?
Actually, it is a very interesting question. And basically, it is an immunological question. So many people are thinking this. This particular question has triggered interest in many people. So it is basically how your immune mechanism is made of. So many people think that mother and children are affected in a community, but father is not affected. So people think that the immunity part of COVID-19 is coming from the HLA. HLA is located in X chromosome. So in a family, the mother and children are sharing common X chromosome, but the father's X chromosome belongs to his mother's. So this is actually, we are seeing in many communities that if the father is infected, the mother and the children sometimes not infected. But if the mother is infected, definitely the children are infected. Some people argue that it is not because of genetics and all, it is because of just interaction. The children will be very close to their mothers. So if the mother is infected, definitely the children are also infected. So father is infected. But the problem is, even in married individuals, sometimes the couple is not infected together. The one person is escaping. So this is actually a very interesting question that we do not have an answer for that. To an extent, sometimes, for example, 5 individuals are in their home and they have got mild fever and all. They are sending and they are going and getting their test done. 3 tested positive and 2 negative. Sometimes it may be because of the false negativity of the test. Because COVID maximum, the sensitivity of the test that we used in COVID is 75%. That means out of 4 individuals who is actually having COVID, maybe 1 may be getting tested negative. So that can also be there. It's a complicated situation. It can maybe due to the false negativity of the test. It may be because of HLA, that is your genetics. It may be because of the interaction that is happening inside your home. So difficult to answer question, but it is very interesting question.
Sir, another question. As you have already mentioned that it will take a lot of time to get vaccinated completely, the whole nation. So so one has asked whether whether we would have to get vaccinated again. Would that situation happen? The one who are already vaccinated, would we have to vaccinate
Yes,
again?
that can happen. Yes, definitely that is going to happen. But the question is whether it is going to happen during the pandemic or is it going to happen after the pandemic is over? Don't think that COVID-19 is going to disappear completely. COVID-19 may be there in the community, but may not be affecting this in this pattern. Today, if you go outside without your mask and if you just interact with others, then definitely you are going to get COVID-19. But tomorrow, in another day, if you go out, there is a chance, just like you are getting hepatitis, just like you are getting a dengue, you may get COVID-19 also. If the disease has transmitted to that phase, definitely you are going to take a shot of anti-COVID-19 vaccine. Sometimes it may be a package for all coronavirus, not only COVID-19 alone. Maybe once in a in an year or something like that. Maybe from now, maybe in every year, we are going to take anti-coronavirus as a vaccination. But during the outbreak, how much it is a chance for going for another vaccination, we cannot predict. But so many people, especially doctors and all, they argue that they need one more shot because doctors were given the vaccination the first. I have received my vaccination on the inaugural day, that is 15th of January. And I got my booster, that is on February. So for the last 6 months, I did not have any boosters. So many teachers, so many doctors argue that they need a booster or something like that. So that is partly that is an administrative issue, partly because that is an epidemiological issue that we do not know. But at least for an year, we are not going to give a vaccine, a booster dose or something like that. And another issue is sometimes newer and newer vaccines are coming. Some people think that, okay, we have got 2 doses of COVID, but now in our private hospital, there is a Sputnik vaccine is available. Why can't us go and take a Sputnik vaccine? Some people think that among the all type of vaccine, mRNA vaccines are considered as superior. And if mRNA vaccine, that is Pfizer vaccine or Moderna vaccine is available, sometimes one dose may cost 10,000 rupees, but I have got money. So why can't I go and take a Pfizer vaccine? So many people will think by their own, and so many permutation and combinations are actually happening also.
Sir, an additional question to the previous one. In that case, whether our infrastructure will be able to meet it?
That is a real concern. One thing is, it is not ethical. Without so many people, 60% of our population do not taken at least a single dose of vaccine. It is not because of vaccine hesitancy. It is because of non-availability of vaccine. People want vaccine, but we are not able to provide them. So is it ethical that I have received 1 dose of vaccine, I have got my booster, and I want 1 more dose to make me more protected? Is it good? Is it wise? Or I have to give this extra vaccine to the other person? That is one question that the government has to think of. So without giving more vaccine to the needy people, we cannot think about an additional vaccine for people who are taken vaccines once. That is one thing. Second one is our infrastructure is fine. Okay, because in COVID-19, we are taking or using some other infrastructures other than the conventional mechanism. We are using our private hospitals. Even in government hospitals, we are using some facilities. Some auditoriums and halls are used for vaccine. The real issue is the unavailability of vaccine. But if you go for Pfizer vaccine or something like that, where the vaccine storage mechanism is entirely different that of the current vaccine storage mechanism that is available with the government and private hospitals, we cannot distribute it as, for example, if the Pfizer vaccine is available, we cannot distribute it through our primary health centers. It will be available only in some corporate hospitals, and only few people can go and take it. Otherwise, the distribution mechanism we can actually upscale. But the real issue is we do not have the vaccine in our hand.
Okay, sir. So that was our last question. We're almost done with the Q&A session. So that was a very informative presentation. It was your words of wisdom truly was very interesting. Thank you, sir, for taking that presentation. So to express our gratitude, now let me welcome Professor Yuvraj from EMBS to propose a vote of thanks. Sir, please.
Thank you. Very good evening, one and all. Really, sir, excellent informations. First and foremost, I would like to thank our speaker, guest, Dr. Anish, for the wonderful information. Sir, you were given a lot of information about the world scenario, Indian and Kerala scenario, and you have given a lot of information about vaccination and other details and how the disease spreading, all those things are really, I'm very sure, given a lot of information to everyone, participants. Thank you very much, sir. Next, I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to Dr. Harinder Lal Inter-Society Chairman, Inter-Society Committee, Kerala Chapter, for given this opportunity through the weekly webinar series. Thank you very much, sir. I would like to thank all the sponsoring organizations, IEEE Kerala Section, Institution of Engineers India, Kerala State Center, Computer Society of India, Trivandrum Chapter, Project Management Institute.
No audio, sir.
I think we lost connection. Could you please wait for a few minutes till Yuvraj sir joins back?
Bhagyashree, you can take over and complete, and perhaps he may not be able to join in time.
Okay, sir.
We are getting late. Okay, you can go ahead and complete the welcome vote of thanks and finish off it, please.
Okay, sir. So I would like to thank all the participants who have been a patient listeners throughout the presentation. I would also like to thank Ajina from EMDS for giving us a beautiful welcome speech and introducing our speaker. Thank you, Ajina. And I would also like to thank Professor Yuvraj sir, who has taken the initiative to present the deliver vote of thanks. Due to some technical issues, he has not been able to complete it. Apologies from our side. And most importantly, I would like to thank Anish sir, who has taken his precious time out of his busy schedule to be with us throughout the session and give us a wonderful, informative presentation. Thank you so much, sir. It was a really interesting session. I truly enjoyed it. And as you can see, there are many participants who have posted gratitude in the chat section. Thank you so much, sir. And at the end, I would like to thank Harindra sir and all the committee organizing members who have taken the initiative to conduct this webinar. Thank you all. So since we are almost out of time, let me move on to announce about the next webinar, which is about to happen on the 28th of July from 6 to 7 p.m. So the talk will be our 68th talk, and it is on 3D printing and will be taken by Girija Gomadi Muralidharan Krishna. She's a cloud design services working in Sprint Ray, US. And hope to see you all next Wednesday. Thus, we are almost at the end of today's session. Anissa, would you like to say a few words before we wind up the session?
No, nothing. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me for this session. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I got the networking issues. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, EMDS members.
Sorry, we have completed the task. Okay.
Sorry, sir. Since we are running out of time, it was great to have you also with us today, sir. Thank you. I think let's wind up the session now. Meeting is now officially dispersed. Thank you all for attending. See you all next.